Can you imagine calling James Wiseman Baby J? Couldn't do it. Couldn't do it, right? Couldn't do it. You know, and when you get around the culture and sports culture in particular, that's a part of it, right? Is nicknames, giving each other a hard time. And 9 out of 10 times it's love, right? It's love. It's really a sign that you like somebody. And we also all know certain people at the workplace, friends, different groups where you don't want to do that, right? Like for whatever reason, their confidence may be a little too fragile or just however they are, they're just a little too sensitive or they need a pat on the back. So when James Wiseman was here, right, it was Big Jim. It was the big ticket, right? And it was all these things to build him up. And hey, everyone's different, right? You know, Wiseman's on a tough journey right now. There's no doubt about it, but that's not what this video is about. I just thought it was funny when I heard that the Warrior vets were calling Trayce Jackson-Davis Baby T until he got his first double-double. And the other night in New Orleans, how y'all say that? Raycon is a company that makes headphones and tech products. And when it comes to shopping for tech, you got to find the sweet spot, right? You don't want to buy something so cheap it's of poor quality, but you don't want to overpay just for a name brand. And I think Raycon has found that sweet spot when it comes to tech. Now, they sent me the Everyday Buds. I've been using them every day. What do you know? I think the first thing to say is, look, they sound good, right? That's the most important thing when it comes to headphones. They fit in my ear well. There's a ton of adjustable tips, but the real selling point was how well the charge case works. I know y'all know this because it doesn't matter what brand you're using. You go to put them in the case, one's not charging. You take them out, one's not connecting. Every time I go to use these Everyday Buds, they're charged and they connect. And I love that. So get an early start on the holiday sale by shopping Raycon's early Black Friday sale today. So go to buyraycon.com/alchemy and get 20 to 50% off site-wide. He had got his double-double. Apparently, they took a rebound away. Pajemski probably stole it from him, right? You see that boy on the glass is crazy. But needless to say, he kind of had a coming out party when we were underman in New Orleans the other night. And why I bring up that nickname is because it's a really good sign. It's a really good sign that the vets felt comfortable to call him that. And, you know, it just speaks to his confidence and the relationship and rapport between him and the vets. You can tell the vets like the young guys. And we know that hasn't always been the case in the past. And it may not necessarily have been off the court. We're just talking about playing with them, around them, belief in them, right? And, you know, Trayce Jackson, a lot of people are making, what was he, like the 57th pick? He was one of the last picks in the second round, right? But it's my understanding that this was the Austin Reeves blueprint. What the Lakers did to acquire Austin Reeves a few drafts ago, where Trayce, whose agent, by the way, is Mike Dunleavy's brother, right? That certainly helps things. But once he slipped out of the first round, which he shouldn't have, but we know 4-year guys get punished all the time. The first round guarantees you a contract, right? And so once he slipped out of the first round, I'm pretty sure he was going to go early second round. But when teams would call his agent, they were like, no, we're not going to report. Like, don't draft us. Don't draft him, right? And that's what allowed him to fall all the way down to that pick. And it was basically arranged for him to come to Golden State because Mike, you know, and again, this isn't verbatim or this isn't like factual, but this is kind of what I've heard is, you know, it was like, hey, we're going to guarantee him. Right. And this is a perfect scenario in our space, in our culture. And so that's ultimately, I believe, how they acquired Trayce Jackson that far in the draft. The reality is he was a late first round, early second round pick. And once he slipped to the second, and that's the same thing that Austin Reeves and his agent did to get him to the Lakers a few years ago. You saw how that worked out for him. Right. But let's talk about his game. Enough of the he said, she said, and all that extracurricular stuff. We're here to talk basketball. If you haven't already, hit the notification bell and subscribe, support the channel. So the first thing that flashes when you watch Trayce Jackson out on the court is he's got the second jump of a Marvel character, right? That second jump is crazy. The way he can, and you can tell he had the one off the backboard. Now, he doesn't have the greatest touch around the basket, the lefty. He doesn't get a lot of arc on it, right? And he doesn't play the glass too much, typical for a guy that dunks that much. But you can tell by the time, I don't know, when he was probably dunking about 14, 15 years old, and he probably had that quick jump even before that, you can tell he's been putting it up on the rim and going and getting it with the second jump his entire basketball life, right? It's very natural to him. And you're seeing it translate also on the defensive end, which we'll talk about, right? But I think the second thing that's jumped out to me is his ability to absorb contact. And you look at pick and roll coverages or someone, attacking a closeout, and when a guy tries to turn a corner on him, he's able to get vertical, absorb the contact, and contest the shot, and most importantly, without fouling. Especially for a rookie, he's not fouling that much. He had some bad calls. I think it was in Sacramento in the preseason. But a lot of younger players, right, when they go up to get vertical, they either get bullied out of the way, right, or a bigger guy puts a shoulder on them and they're able to turn the corner. And guys just, aren't able to turn the corner on Trayce very well. He's very sturdy. He's strong. You can see it in his build. That also translates to boxing out and rebounding. You're not seeing him get dislodged or pushed around on the block. He's holding his ground against Sabonis, against Zion. We're talking about some of the stronger players in the league. And again, for a rookie, granted, he is 23 years old, is impressive and is a big deal in what you're looking for in a big man, right? So he gets up, and you saw, what do you have, 4 blocks the other night? And he gets up so quickly, he's getting to shots that you don't usually see get blocked. I think the league is starting to realize quickly, like, he's going to get to my runner. He can get to my floater, because not only is his apex and he gets up high to the square, it's how quickly he does it, right? He's getting it before the ball gets up to the apex. And that's just something we haven't had on this team since I want to say a young JaVale McGee. Now, he is jump happy, right? The leapers leap, Barnett's rule. And he likes to jump because he can jump so well. And so he does leave his feet too much. And there's going to be nights where he gets in foul trouble and he gets hit with the pump fake, right? I think a big part of that will be KYP. Once he knows the personnel around the league, it will help him stay disciplined. Some of these guys pump fakes, right? They're fruitless. You ain't shooting it. Why even pump fake and just stay down, right? So he'll figure that out. But the other aspect that's so important in today's game, if you're a big man, is, are you comfortable getting out to the three-point line? Now, that's not to say they're going to have him switching pick and roll coverages, right? That would be ambitious. But transition defense, or there's a cross match or something, you're closing out to the weak side. How quickly can you get out and contest a weak side three as the low man, right? And most centers don't really want to do that or ain't going to get out there in time. And his quick feet and ability to get off the ground quickly, there is the blueprint for a really nice modern defensive big. And I think that's the most exciting thing. I knew offensively what he would bring to the table. And you talk about the lob threat, the dunker spot, some vertical spacing. Now, they haven't connected on lobs and finding him as much as I would have hoped early on. He has really good hands. I've watched enough tape at him at Indiana, huge, good hands. And, I think some of the bobbling of the ball here early is he's going to the glass and they're looking to dump it off to him. And so the timing and chemistry is off. And so as he builds a rapport with these guards, I think we're going to see a lot of fun lobs on the short roll, the dunker spot, and out in transition. He has the ability to finish that. And again, KYP, your own personnel. What I would say is, if Chris Paul's coming downhill or Podziemski's coming downhill, they're going to be hunting him. They're going to be looking to get it to him first, right? He will be the priority, and he'll realize who's looking for theirs and who's looking to find him, and they will sync up. And then the last thing I would say as far as finishing is, he's very left-hand dominant. He's going to have to learn to use that right offhand and have some sort of counter move eventually back to his left shoulder, right? And finish with the right hand. That's not there yet, but the league, they don't, he's not going to be atop the scouting report yet, but eventually he's going to need a counter and be able to finish with that offhand. But overall, man, just regardless of how Dunleavy was able to add him to the roster, it's such a nice contrast to our two other bigs in Loon and Dario, right? And I think the next question for people is, hey, he's got to play. Where are they going to find him minutes? I think as of right now, it's going to be situational, right? Sarch has been good, in my opinion. You know, he needs to finish better around the basket, but you see his value as well. And the stylistic matchup will depend. So, like, for instance, Friday night, OKC, young, athletic team wants to play fast. Maybe that's a matchup for Trayce where he gets the 20 minutes and Sarch comes in after him, right? Or, you're playing the Lakers in that big athletic front line. Maybe it's Sarch stretching in the perimeter and pulling them out of the paint. So I think it will determine, it will depend on what the matchup is, at least for right now. But he's at least shown enough to continue to get opportunities, right? Like we got Sacramento tonight. Remember in the preseason, he had a great showing against Sabonis. So I expect to see him a little bit tonight. And then, and the truth of the matter is, listen, this is probably a subject for a different time. We need to let the season really get into the things, right? But if Andrew Wiggins is going to continue to be a space cadet, then I don't see why he can't take some of Andrew Wiggins' minutes. Now, obviously, he's not going to play the three, but it would be a time in the game where Kerr would have gone small and put Wiggins at the 4, and he's like, you know what? No, let me put Trayce in there. Let me put Trayce in there, and we'll play a little bigger, like you saw in New Orleans the other night. And to talk a little bit about that game, the only stat you need to know outside of the Steph explosion is 64-39 on the glass. Like that's dominance when you're undermanned on the road, right? The Dario Trayce lineup, I think, was a big part of it. And then Podziemski, what do you have, like 8-9 rebounds off the bench, right? And we know it's a team-wide focus this season. But with some of these bigger lineups, I think that's a big deal. As far as Steph goes, listen, when they said Clay and Kuminga were out before the game, I knew my Steph lower than 33 was in danger when you take out the two other most thirsty shot takers on the team. I was like, all right, that's not great, right? Then I turn on the telecast and they're like, oh yeah, Brandon Ingram's not playing. Oh, Alvarado's out. I'm like, dang, okay, so they're down too, right? And Steph just comes out and just starts cooking, right? Herb Jones is a good defender, but he's too big. Willie Green should know this, but it's not like he had a ton of options the other night. But when you put a big guy on him and he just abuses them through screens, when a guy's 6'8", you're asking a lot for him to chase Steph around, right? And then they had the rookie from UConn, Hawkins, out there, who I like, but he got switched out a couple times. That was a snack, and the higher than 33 was done in like the first half. What do you have? The first 16 of 18. But hey, I can't complain. I should know better than to go against the chef, right? Yeah, Kings tonight. No De'Aaron Fox, rolled the ankle bad against the Lakers the other night. Them Under Armours. Yeah, I'll probably go higher on Malik Monk's points. I don't care what Mike B talking about. I don't care what Mike B yapping about. They're gonna need Malik. He's gonna get up a lot of shots in this matchup. And again, I expect to see more Trayce tonight. Let's see if he can build on that performance in New Orleans. Is Kuminga and Clay back? I would think so. As always, hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.